All right, Jimmy, we're going to get started.
All right, just let
I'd
me
like to
read
thank
the,
everybody for being here tonight.
Okay.
I appreciate it. Not going to really speak too much here. We're going to jump right into it. So first presenter,
we
floor
have,
is
wait a
all
minute,
yours.
before we start, just let me, we have a quorum, right? Jerry? Okay, just being that we have a quorum, I gotta read the public notice.
Jason, you don't need to add anything, do you?
No, you're good to go.
All right, let me read the notice. Please be, dear City Clerk Farina, please be advised that as mayor of the city of Hoboken, I hereby call a special workshop sessions for the purpose of conducting CY 2023 budget presentations to the governing body via Zoom on Thursday, March 16th, Monday, March 20th, and March 27th, all commencing at 6 p.m. via Zoom. Monday, March 20th, 2023, to commence at 6 p.m. Department of Public Safety, Department of Health and Human Services. Please take notice that these meetings are being conducted in accordance with the Open Public Meeting Act, NJSA 10:4-6. Notice of these meetings are being furnished to the Bergen Record Jersey Journal, Star Ledger, and will be posted on the bulletin board in the lobby of City Hall. Please take further notice that the City Council may not take any formal action accordance would consider any additional matters at this special meeting. Objections to any should be made to City Clerk. Roll call, Mr. Cohen. DeFusco.
Here, I'm here. I'm here, Jim.
Okay, got it. Mr. Doyle. Ms. Fisher.
Here.
Giantino.
Here.
Mr. Quintero.
Present.
Mr. Ramos. Mr. Russo.
Present.
President Jabour.
Here.
Okay, commence.
Jason, you need to say anything before we get right into it?
Nope, Director Franti and his team are ready to go.
No problem. Director, it's all yours.
Thank you, Director. Thank you, Councilman Russo and Council President Jabour. Okay, the first half, we're going to do the police budget, then we'll follow up the second half with the fire budget. With the police, Chief Aguirre will talk about staffing and different numbers and statistics. I will give you the salary lines that he will follow up and end with the O&E expenses. So I turn over to Chief Aguirre.
Good evening. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Council President and council members that are present tonight. We'll begin our presentation.
Make sure Jerry has it up.
Jerry, you got it up? Mine? No, I'm not. Can everybody hear me?
Yep.
Okay.
Here we go. There we go. All right. To the next page, please. Jerry will follow our instructions.
Okay. Next slide, Jerry.
There we go.
All right. So currently, we have 131 officers, but come very soon, as of April 1st, we'll be at our lowest since 2015 with 129 officers. I just have a little cover on. Jerry, next slide. We are also at an all-time low with our crossing guards. We only had 15 crossing guards due to retirements and not being able to hire new crossing guards. There was an effort to hire. There were 6 candidates that were interviewed, and based on the background investigations and or lack of interest in the position itself, we only have 2 possible candidates that may accept the position, which would only still bring us to 17 and still maintain us at the lowest number of crossing guards we've had since prior to 2015. Very next slide. Unfortunately, we're seeing the same decline in our traffic control officers. As you can see, we have half of the amount that we had last year. We're hoping to have an initiative sometime later on in the year, very soon, where we'll have a job fair where hopefully we can be able to advertise this position to be able to hire some more traffic control officers. But currently we still only have 3 as of right now. Next slide. So our table of organization calls for 146 sworn employees. The breakdown is there above. So currently, we're actually working with 2 less lieutenants, 4 less sergeants, and 11 patrol officers for a total of 17 officers short of our table of organization. And that's as of April 1st of this year. Thank you to the city council who approved the first reading, the new ordinance to be able to hire outside of the residency requirement. That's going to be instrumental in hopefully getting these numbers back to normal numbers. Next slide.
Okay, so our control total is out, all of our salaries, all that's paid out to police officers, civilian employees, our overtime. Last year, we asked for $19,901,000 and we expended $19,449,000. This year, we are requesting $21,104,620, which is an increase of 5.8%. And a lot of that is because of vacation payouts. We had 8 retirements in the PD, and you'll also see 8 retirements in the fire department in the first quarter of the year. With the contractually obligated payouts of vacation time and terminal leave payments, those 16 employees that have left the city of Hoboken require $2 million in outgoing payments. So that is a key reason why you're going to see salary increases as far as this control number increased. On next page, please. This is our regular pay for police salary and wage. We had allocated $17,060,063 in 2022, which we spent just under $70,000 below that with $16.99 million. This year we're requesting $18.343 million for 2 reasons. You had large salary increases, which was multi-year contract that was settled last year, which went into their salaries. And we also still continue to fully fund our table of organization. Right now, these salaries include the payment of 129 officers for the first 6 months, but with our goals and hopeful objectives is to be having 146 officers, which is our full table organization for the second half of 2023. Our next slide, please. Our regular pay for the crossing guards. As Chief Aguilar said, we only have 15 crossing guards and 3 TCOs, which is bringing our requested amount from $561,000 last year to $403,000 for this year. And that's with the goals of hopefully hiring a handful of both crossing guards and TCOs. That's still a decrease of $160,000. Our police standby court time is an amount that's already paid out. Next page, please, Jerry. Sorry about that. This is already paid out in the first payment of the year. So that's $50,000. That's for the 100 patrol officers in the department table of organization. Next slide, please. Our overtime, which last year we allocated $879,000. We expended $829,000. We're asking for a slight increase to $900,000. And this is due to the shortage of 17 police officers right now, which large scale events, day-to-day deployments when people are off for vacation, sick time, FMLA, all those reasons that we have to have minimum staffing levels in the PD. We're asking for $900,000 as this year's overtime number. Now, it's a key thing, $900,000 still falls less than 5%. I always try to use a annual and payroll of 5% overtime, which is a DCA recommendation. Anytime you hit 10%, you have a major problem. So I like to budget for 5% so that if we have that catastrophe of a Superstorm Sandy type of event, we still will not hit 10% overtime for the year. So we try to hit half that as a cap. Next page, please. Our class 2 cops right now, we do not have any, and we do not anticipate on having any. Next line, please. Our regular pay for our civilians. This covers 20 positions of civilians where we have an increase from 1.07 million to 1.1. It's an increase of $50,000, which basically covers an increase of 2 part-time employees as Chief Aguilar tries to get more officers from offices out into the streets because of the shortage. Next page, which was our police overtime for water main, we have included that into either our regular overtime or our OEM overtime. So while we still have that line, we did not fund it and we did not draw from it. On the next page, please. Our police uniform allowance, again, this is something that's covered for the 100 patrol officers at $1,300 each. So it's $130,000. The reason why that's $137,000 last year, the civilian employee uniform allowance was also paid out of that. Next is our police sick incentive line. This is our perfect attendance every 6 months. And we estimate 150,000 as a cap, as a max that we'll see paid out. That's as if 75 officers had perfect attendance, which we feel may come into that, but definitely that would be a max number that we would have to pay. And I'll turn back to Chief Aguirre for the O&E.
Okay, so here are our control totals for operating expenses. We are requesting $763,800, which is an increase of 31.3%. Although that seems like a major increase, this is encompassing of our body worn camera contract, which is a state mandate that we must have body worn cameras, and that comes at a great cost, as well as this brings into our maintenance and service support for our telecommunications center, which requires maintenance and support. It's hard to believe that it's 5 years old at this point, and in the IT world, that's pretty much end of life or end of support. And we need a maintenance contract in order to maintain that, so we don't have catastrophic failure and our telecommunications is down for an extended period of time. And that's why there's such a large increase in that in the total for the control. Next slide. This is our office supply line. Obviously, computers, printers, toners, paper. We're maintaining the same amount that we allocated last year. We spent almost right to the very penny in 2022, and we're expecting to spend the same amount in 2023. Next. This is the, go back one. No, there it is. Okay. Subscription and publication. There's many services that have become subscription as a service, which includes our Microsoft and software licensing for different various components. There are newer services that are coming online, and I'll give you an example. One of them is called Language Line. It's an ad hoc service for anytime we have a need for an interpreter. You'd be able to call this line, and any language you have an interpreter on the spot. That's just an example of where what we can use with this line. There's other services that are becoming subscription as service lines as we take on new contracts, and that's what this line would be used for. Next. Membership and dues for the chief. So this covers the dues, which is covered by contract, and the additional monies are there for new training specific to the new role that I've been taking on and the new directives that are being issued by the state that have more involvement for the chief of police, which I'd like to attend and be able to use that for this. Thank you. Next. All right, maintenance and repair. So last year we allocated $13,700. We expended $11,000 this. We're requesting actually less due to the fact that we have been replacing older equipment, meaning computers, with newer equipment. That newer equipment has warranties attached to the purchases, which is allowing us to use less money to replace older equipment and reduce cost. Next. So this is labeled our St. Patrick's and July 4th outside agency costs. So when we do have large scale events outside the capability of the Hoboken Police Department to staff completely, we would use this line. Although last year we did not expend any money from this line, we do foresee the newer events such as the new SantaCon having additional bar crawls attached to it, as we almost saw on this last Leprechaun, and with the addition of the Hoboken Business Alliance parade route that was there with the 2 floats. We may need to tap into this line in order to be able to properly staff and maintain public safety for these types of events. So we're asking for $20,000 for this line. Next. Police body cams, as I stated previously, our body cameras are a state mandate. It's a directive issued by the state attorney general. Every police officer must have a body worn camera. $140,000 is what it costs per year to maintain our camera and contract service with our current provider. And this is something that's going to be, until the directive is lifted, which I don't see happening anytime soon, an ongoing cost for the city of Hoboken. Next. Education reimbursement. Our officers fairly young, looking to take advantage of the contractual reimbursement for tuition. We're keeping this at 10,000. We lowered it from 12. We already received a few requests this year, so we feel that 10,000 would be able to cover the amount that would be expended this year. Next. Our maintenance and contracts. This is for our various computer, radio, and camera systems that we maintain. Last year, we allocated 200,000 based on increases in new contract renewals and inflation. Those same renewals amounted to 242,000. We're expecting an increase this year, and we're requesting 250,000 to cover those increases. Next. Our police training. Although we went over our line this past year, training is very important for every police officer. As we take on newer officers, they require additional training. Although we did go over last year, we feel that we can use some in-house training in order to maintain this at the current requested amount of $36,300. Next. Here, quick. All right. Our police academy training, as stated before, we are attempting to hire additional officers. We are 17 short. We're hoping to be able to fill our table of organization by the end of the year, and in doing so, we would have to send recruits to the academy, and we're requesting 20,000 in order to be able to do so. Next. This is a line that has not been funded in the last year, or I believe even the year prior to that, so we're not funding it this year as well. Our ammunition and range. These are the costs to have our yearly qualifications that are mandated by directive. This covers our ammunition and our range time. Next. Equipment and supplies. So this covers some other equipment that gets maintained and utilized by the police department, our radio communications and consoles, as well as certain body armor. 81,000 is what we allocated last year. We expended 77,915, and we're requesting the same amount of 81,000. Next. So community policing line. This is where we fund our Coffee with a Cop, which has morphed into the community and public safety program, as well as our National Night Out, Union Police Academy, and later this year we'll be continuing on our bicycle safety programs. Next. Our police department medical testing and services. So by directive, we must drug test randomly twice a year. In addition to that drug testing, we also have to send our applicants for fitness to duty examinations prior to coming on the job and being hired. And this is what this line item is for. We're requesting an additional 5,000 to cover the possibility of new hires. Next. Our award ceremony recognition program. I plan on recognizing the great work that our officers are doing sometime this year. We expended $1,789 last year out of the $1,800 budget, and we're seeking the same amount to be able to purchase certain award certificates and other various items in order to have that ceremony this year. Next. Our emergency services supply line. So as we have created our enhanced patrol officers that require certain types of equipment, we utilize this line in order to make those types of purchases for that unit. And general expenses. This is your everyday other items that don't fall within any other type of budget line item. As you can see, it's various items such as identification cards and related to printing and photo camera equipment. And we're requesting the same amount. We expended $35,241 last year, requesting the same amount of $40,000 as we did last year. Next. Acquisition of police vehicles. Currently, we have 3 motorcycles that are approximately 10 years old at this point. We're expecting to utilize this line item to replace that 10-year-old fleet of 3 motorcycles. And in doing so, trying to use those motorcycles as a turn-in program to lower that cost and upgrade those vehicles. All in all, we are requesting $21,868,420, which is an increase of 6.6%, which is in line with the increase in the city's total budget. Thank you very much. That's our presentation. I'm open to questions, comments, and concerns at this time.
Any council members have any questions? Jen?
Thanks. Chief, you said that the body cams are state mandated, right?
That's correct.
So I'm pretty sure, I remember this in the past, if the state mandates that a municipality does something, they're required to have the funding for it. The state is required to give us the funding for it.
That's
It's
not true. It's called an unfunded mandate, right?
No, in 1996, I remember we had something like very similar at the charter school years ago, that the state mandated something. And I think it's called like New Jersey Council on Local Mandates.
So the city did receive an award for body-worn cameras. It does not cover the full cost. It's spread out over a 5-year term. I don't have the exact numbers of how that gets broken down, but it certainly does not cover the entire cost.
Right. No, it was, I'll find out the details, but it was Governor Whitman, and apparently, like, legislators were just passing all these laws, and locality or municipalities were having to pick up the tab, and they put this in place, the New Jersey Council on Local Mandates in place to challenge all these. And there's so many things that they've had overturned. And I feel like a while before there was something with the cameras in police cars.
So cameras in police cars. Well,
There was something with cameras in police cars that was over, like the state mandated it, and then they had to pick up a bill for it, or then the state overturned something or changed the law. But it should definitely be looked into, because
I think it was looked into at the time, and if I remember correctly, because I remember I was here during the rollout of this. This is one of those where the state said we're not funding this for the entire state, because you can go to any vendor that the city would like, and they're not going to fund every single officer, because it's data driven as well. So the cost for Hoboken may be different for Weehawken, even if we have the same amount of
right.
Councilman,
It is called the New Jersey Council on Local Mandates. It was started in 1995. And the legislator it was signed by Governor Whitman and the legislator at the time, because they were continually doing unfunded mandates. Sorry.
and I guess they continue to do it because they're not funding this completely either.
yeah, if that's
Right.
true, I mean, if that's true, that'd be great, because the other one the city is navigating right now is dealing with the replacement of every lead service line.
Right.
That was mandated by the governor 2 years ago to get it done in the next 10 years with not a
Jason,
penny
I'm going to send
allocated.
this to you.
Okay,
just so you
great.
have it. I mean, I
That'd be
think,
great.
yeah, it's worth looking into.
Absolutely. Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thanks.
Yes, thank you.
Director, just to follow up on that, you said, and Chief, I think you said it was a 5-year term that they would be funding partial of the cost.
That is correct.
Do you know what that cost was?
What the governor's office did was that we'll pay for every body cam. The problem was the body cam was only about $250 to $500 a piece. And they funded for the 556 municipalities. There are 31,000 law enforcement officers in the state of New Jersey, and every single one of them had to have a body cam by July 1st, 2021. So the amount that was given out in grant from the state covered about 2 years. Now we're starting to see for the first time it not covering. Just so you know, data for the amount of data that needs to be saved for each officer, it's approximately slightly over $1,000 per officer per year. So that's the expense we're dealing with, and all 556 municipalities dealing with it.
And I believe it was about 318,000 was the award from the state over a 5-year period.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
Jen, did you have anything else?
No, thank you.
Councilwoman Fisher?
Yeah, hi, thank you. So my question is, I put it in the chat and I'm curious just in general, if and how we can use Hudson County sheriffs to supplement, the fact that we have a shortage. And in particular, as it relates to the traffic control officers, because those are part-time positions anyway. Am I right? They're not full-time positions. And if they're part-time positions, isn't that something that we can have the county figure out a way to do shared services or something with the county and leverage their resources?
We just had a county meeting Thursday, which we have a monthly meeting with the chiefs and directors. And I was discussing this with a couple of different municipalities and everybody was saying, where are the sheriffs? The sheriffs are dealing with the same shortages as everybody else, even to a larger degree, because every city is short, many sheriff's officers are leaving to become full-time police officers in other cities. So it was pinpointed that North Bergen was the only one that was having patrols by county sheriffs. We get some patrol in Columbus Park, and that's really about it. Am I correct on that? We get any further?
No, they also patrol underneath divide those parks down there too. So yeah.
So that's where we get our, that's basically the max coverage we get from the sheriff's department. Now, they definitely will not send officers to direct traffic and do TCO work. We just need to try to hopefully find 7 more TCOs.
Do you know how many sheriff's police officers there are?
I don't know the exact number now.
It's in the range of 350, but they are 350 is what they usually have, but they are well short of that right now. And they said their biggest allotment in their deployment is in the courts, that more than half of their officers need to be assigned to courtrooms. That's why they don't have a lot of patrol.
Right, that's their primary focus is staffing the courtrooms.
Got it. Okay. And the only other question is for now, of course, you mentioned body cameras early on, and then you mentioned them a second time. What were the 2 different references to body cameras? One was like a 30% increase for body cameras, and then you had the slide that had the 140,000 on it.
So the first time I mentioned it was just for the total, the control total. So I was trying to account for the total, and then I said specifically later on the line item.
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anything else, Councilwoman?
Not right now.
Director Franti, just a quick follow-up on some of those questions. How many entities have jurisdiction in the city of Hoboken?
7. You have, after Hoboken, you have Stevens, you have New Jersey Transit, State Police, Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, Port Authority, and we have great networking with all of them when it comes to situations on their properties. But when it comes to the patrols of Hoboken streets, it's 95% Hoboken PD.
Yeah, and the reason I ask is because I mean, we've had this conversation a number of times. I get calls specifically about the 9th Street light rail station all the time. I'm sure other council people get the same questions about the light rail or the path. So there are properties and jurisdictions that they really have in the city, but rarely do we ever see that patrol, right? I never see a transit police officer down at the 9th Street light rail station. Is there a way where we could kind of increase that conversation, hopefully increase that patrol in some of those areas of town? Because I think that would offset some of the need for HPD to be, answering some of the calls in those specific areas.
We make those requests often. Chief Drusilla is great to work with. In Hoboken, their priority is the large rail train station, Lackawanna.
Sure.
The transportation hub has 930,000 commuters weekly. The light rail stations, they have many light rail issues in Jersey City and Bayonne where they deploy officers. They do the same thing as Chief Aguiar does with as far as data-driven deployments. So a lot of the light rail stations is reactive patrols, and they have code enforcement officers there dealing with light rail tickets. And if there's issues, they will contact New Jersey Transit. But if there's anything that goes on any of those tracks, they do take over the incident, so it doesn't make an impact on our deployments.
And
Okay.
just to add to Director Francis' comment, it's also standard protocol for us to respond when we do receive that call for service. And when we do respond, we're simultaneously calling transit to respond as well, so that if there is an issue on their property, it's turned over to them. But we don't want to delay services to that call for service, so we do respond as well.
Yeah, and this was more of a proactive versus reactive kind of a thought process for me, just to have those patrols in the area if in fact that was doable. If it's not, it's not. But I think it's just something we should continue to explore. If we have 7 different agencies that have jurisdiction and we could utilize some of them at, any moment, I think it just helps us in the long run. But you guys are the professionals, you would know better. So
We could certainly have the conversation with our counterparts.
yeah.
Can I just
appreciate it.
ask a related specifically to what you raised, Councilman Russo? Just, do they have these other agencies, is their jurisdiction limited specifically to the property that they own, or do they have the ability to have jurisdiction? Like, can we give them jurisdiction on like surrounding properties? And the specific example is, I actually do see Port Authority, although I don't exactly know why, but I see Port Authority up by the ferry up here, the Uptown Ferry. A number of times I've seen them. And I mean, I don't know why, because it's a privately owned ferry, it's a privately owned pier. But wouldn't it be great if like they could provide some additional, patrolling or whatever, especially during the summer, on the evenings, if, do they have that ability?
Well, with the 6 agencies that are not Hoboken PD, first of all, you have Stevens, which is a private entity, campus police department, that'll provide mutual aid to us, but their sole responsibility is their campus. Port Authority PD is a quasi-public, quasi-private that they govern and protect their private interests and also do high visibility. New Jersey Transit is the same way. It's a full public agency. Their deployment is done on their public properties. The Hudson County Prosecutor's Office, they're focusing on homicide investigations, sexual assault investigations, and large-scale drug investigations. Hudson County Sheriffs do county parks and can do county roads if they have patrol. And state police can patrol anywhere in the state, but they're doing mostly highways and then small towns that don't have their own municipal police department.
But there's no way, so what you're saying is there's no way for them to step into a different jurisdiction. They kind of have their focus and that's it.
They have their focus, but if we made a request, if we have a specific problem going on, like a crime trend, or they will definitely give it to us.
And they certainly take action whenever they see it. They can take action anywhere within the state of New Jersey.
I would just throw out there, and then we can move on. I know Phil has a question. I would just throw out there because I do see Port Authority police up here on the upper waterfront. I mean, if they're potentially like a high visibility patrol on Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, starting April 15th, like, let's get them to do that. That would be great. Anyway.
Can I just ask a follow-up question to that? I just couldn't hear what you said, Chief. Did you say if they see something, they would do something like that?
They can certainly take action if they see something as
Got
far
it.
as criminal activity. They're not barred from jurisdictional restrictions.
Right. So like, I'm just making this up, but a Stevens officer sees someone committing a crime, they could do something.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Cohen?
Thank you, Council President. Thanks for the presentation to both of you. One slide I just had a question about. There was a slide with respect to the Class 2 officers where there were no Class 2 officers this year and there hadn't been for the prior 2. And I recall that that was an issue that Mayor Zimmer had raised as a possible way to address staffing and issues at the police department. And I've forgotten why that's not happening anymore. I was just wondering if you could.
Yes, we stopped that. We stopped hiring class twos in 2019 because we were losing more than we were hiring annually. So what was happening was, and there was our last class was probably the last straw. We put through 5 or 6 through the academy. We did all the paying for their training, their academy, which is 9 months. They can only do 20 hours if it's not a state of emergency. And we had 2 that never worked a day for us. They left for other departments. And you know what? We're doing the same thing now to get our full-time officers. We're taking class twos from elsewhere. Where class twos right now, if you're not a shore or seasonal community, it's not worth having them because they're leaving for full-time positions immediately.
Thanks. Yeah, I was curious about that. That makes sense. Appreciate it. Those are my questions. Thank you.
I'm still Mayor Franklin. What was it, Franklin Lakes? I went to the academy with their chief, and he stole 2 of our officers before they even stepped foot in the Hoboken streets.
Is that all you had, Phil?
That's all I got, Council President. Appreciate it. Or Council Chair, Budget Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Phil. Any other council members? We'll do, any members of the public have any questions for the police department? Just please raise your hand. Go ahead, Manny.
Yes, good evening or good afternoon, everyone. Thank
Manny.
you, Mr. Chair, Director and Chiefs. Brief questions. Just curious because this is interesting to see the nitty gritty of your budgets and how they're allocated. But I have questions. Does the budget, the one that you just presented, include that possibility or that hope that we do get future recruits for the police? I don't know if I heard that correctly. Is the budget reflecting that amount that we will be paying either their salaries at some point and their training, as well as the crossing guards or the traffic officers? If we hire any of these officers, does the budget reflect that?
Yes, it does, Manny. That those increases in those specific areas do account for the new hires and their salaries.
And their salaries. Okay. So my other question would be, and this is, of course, I'm not in the department, I wouldn't know, but just a question. Does the police department or the administration, someone, are there any possibilities that the department is allowed to request for any types of grants or any type of funding from the federal government or the state government? As an example, like sometimes you hear on TV, I don't know if it's correct or not, that Homeland Security has surplus of this or equipment or whatever. Does the police department do things like this in any way, shape, or form, and is that able to be reflected in the budget? I doubt it, but could you just let us know?
So your first question, yes, the department does apply for grants. We do it annually. As they become online, we make requests for grants and we apply for them. And your second question, no, we can't account for that in the budget because we don't know if they will actually be given to us and awarded those monies and how much. So we can't account for that in the budget if we don't know what we're receiving. But we do apply for any grants that we feel that is something that we can be awarded. And you normally see it in the form of drunk driving enforcement and our public pedestrian safety grants that we traditionally apply for. And then anything else that comes online, if we see something that we think that we fit the criteria for, we will apply.
Great. And does that, once you, again, that was my concern, or I thought that that's how it would be. But my next idea is, or my next question would be, when you do get any of those grants and such for what the things you just mentioned, Chief, does that get folded in the budget? does it get discounted in any way? I use the word discounted. I didn't mean to use that, but does that get accounted into the budget, or that's just an extra that goes into the budget and does not matter? We just got it. We need it for this X or J thing, and do you follow what I'm saying?
Yes, most of the police grants that are out there that are offered are about special enforcement, a lot for pedestrian safety, a lot for DWI, and some equipment like radios, bulletproof vests. So those actually just become, for the deployments, additives to the budget, and they're added to by Chris Baldwin when we send it to finance. The difference is with fire, we have a lot of grants that come about staffing. So we just got the largest award in the state of New Jersey on a SAFER grant, $1.3 million, which you'll see in that budget. That actually replaced our salary line, and it added $1.3 million of firefighters for the next 4 years. So it's very different grants that are offered for police and fire. That I have not seen many staffing grants for policing, unfortunately, in the last several years.
Thank you, Director. I appreciate the answers, and I appreciate the presentation. Thank you all. Thank you, Chief, and thank you to the Budget Chair and all the council members and members of the public. I appreciate the opportunity to speak, Mr. Chair, again, and thank you for again answering my questions. And I believe
Thanks, Manny.
reflecting the work that the police do. Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Thank you. Director, if you want, we have no other members of the public, so if you want, you can
It's
get
just
ready
a
to
fire.
fire.
You sure? You ready to go? Jerry, you want to get Jerry to get that up and right in? Good job. Come on.
Jerry, you have that up?
Here we go. Ready to go, Joe? All right, next slide, please. Hello, council members.
Chief?
All right, I'm just gonna jump right into some of the responsibilities that, we can go back one, Jerry. Back. On the wrong page. There we go.
Sorry about
I'm
that.
just gonna highlight some of the responsibilities we have, and based on my experience, these are what generate most of our run total. It's obviously fires, alarm activations, motor vehicle accidents with injuries, entrapments, water main breaks. We've seen a fair share of those. Carbon monoxide hazards, elevator rescues, gas leaks, etc. It would seem the more population we have, the newer the buildings, everyone has an elevator, and we're going on those calls very frequently. And Jerry, next slide, please. As you see from 2020, which there is a low of 3681, which was the lowest amount of calls for service from 2016. There was a 10% increase over a 10% increase between 2020 and 2021, and another 3.5% increase up to 4,341 calls for service for the Hoboken Fire Department in 2022. If Chief Peskins has anything to add. Yeah, I mean, that uptick is pretty normal, and it's we base it on population density and ongoing construction. We get a lot of calls for service with that. And next slide, we got the grant funding. This year, we've received an assistance to firefighter grant, an AFG grant for 110 lengths of 1 3/4 holes with nozzles and adapters.
That grant actually allows us to be compatible with our mutual aid partners. Hoboken had a unique thread on our instant three-quarter attack line that did not match up with Jersey City or North Hudson, Bayonne, but we're moving towards an identical host rate right now, so we'll be able to provide and receive mutual aid without any delays. We've also received a $29,000 governor's grant for 7 to 10 complete sets of personal protective equipment. PPE just for the jacket and the pants alone cost $3,500. So that $29,000 is coming that way. And as Director Ferranti said, we also received a grant for $1,177,000 in order to increase our table of organization by 4. It's a federal grant administered through FEMA, and it covers salaries, pension costs, payroll tax, covers everything. So we're going to have 4 federally funded firefighters for a period of 3 years.
And if I'll add to that before we go to the next page, actually page 5. Just go back one, Jerry. So with that grant, you're going to see at the 2 meetings in April, we have an agenda meeting this Thursday, we'll have a public safety committee meeting next week. We're going to ask for an increase in the table of organization for 4 firefighters because that is what Safer has given us. So we're going to be able to go up by 4. Go back to page 5, please. So as you see right now, we're operating with 111 total firefighters, which is still 11 below what we need. So we're going to have hopefully 11 hires. We're waiting for a new list to come out. We're hopeful that list comes out tomorrow night or Wednesday, so that background checks could start getting performed immediately. Because right now we're starting to get a little overtime impact because we have to hire firefighters because of the shortage due to retirements. Page 6. So the current fire table organization is 1 interim fire chief, 8 battalion chiefs, 1 fire marshal. We have added that also, 1 fire official. We have added that to this table change next month. This position has been in the fire department for decades. It gets paid for. This will not send the budget up 1 penny, but it was never ordained that this was one of the parts of the fire service, that a fire official gets 12% more than the rank they're in. So right now we have a fire marshal that's a captain making 12% more than the fire captains. It was never part of the ordinance, so that will be in there. Also, 35 captains and then 72 firefighters, what we're working with right now. We'll be going to 78, hopefully in April 2023, next month, if the council approves in those 2 meetings. Page 7, please.
My civilian employees in 2023, we have a total of 20 and 1 compliance clerk. That takes us to 21. I have my fire alarm operators. We have 9, 2 per diem fire alarm operators. I have my chief's clerk, administrative assistant. Fire prevention also has a full-time clerk. I have 3 full-time fire inspectors, 1 part-time fire inspector, a part-time mechanic, and 1 part-time custodian. 20 total, 21. And I will be requesting capital requests from council and mayor, $255,404. That's to do a complete refurbish of our 2023 E1 aerial truck. The apparatus is long past its recommended service life of 15 years. It's not really economical to repair right now. And just the cost of a new aerial truck is well north of $1 million right now. And there's a 2 to 3 year lead time just to get it. But this truck, when refurbished, should last an additional 10 to 15 years. It will be used as our spare, so it will not see frontline duty on a regular basis. Our other 2 aerial trucks that we have, one of them is brand new, and the other one I think we purchased in 2016. So we should be good to go for ladders for the next 10 to 15 years. But it's kind of a pressing issue. We should probably get that done in 2023, just because with large diesels, everything takes time. Next slide, please.
So with our salary and wages, so this is regular pay for 122 full-time sworn members. We fully fund our table of organization. Our goal and aspiration is for this list to come out hopefully the next 48 hours, and us to do background checks and hire another 11 firefighters within the next 1 to 2 months. When you see the salary and wage line, you see an increase from 17.6 million to 19 million, which is an increase of 8%. Most of that is due to vacation pay. As I said during the police budget presentation, with the 16 retirees of police and fire, we had $2 million in outgoing costs for vacation pay and terminal leave pay. SAFER will bring in $400,000 added to our budget for this year as a revenue. You're going to see the overtime rate is down 13.6%. The O&E is down 9.1%. And the only reason why the salaries are up 8% is due to that vacation pay and terminal leave pay. Next page, please. Page 10, and the salaries and wages. So this is the overtime. Last year, we had a $950,000 overtime expenditure, which we spent just underneath that. As I said, when we increased to 8 battalion chiefs, I said this will be able to will pay for itself. We will bring down the overtime, and that's why you see the $130,000 decrease in overtime, which is a 13.6% decrease in overtime. Page 11 is operations, which I'll go to Chief Peskins.
All right, my line items for 2023. As you can see, office supplies in 2022, we asked for 5,000, we spent 1,300. This year, we dropped that to $3,000. That's for paper, pens, stuff along that line. Membership dues, that's for the Chiefs Association, etc. Last year, I did not join, and we requested 500. And again, this year we are requesting 500. Travel expenses, last year we requested 1,000. We spent 400. This year we dropped that to 500 as needed. Equipment maintenance. Last year we requested $7,000. We spent 14,000. This year we're requesting 9,500. We'll just stay under that. Vehicle maintenance. Last year we requested 30,000. We spent 107,000. This year we're requesting the same 30,000. We currently have 10 large diesel apparatus, and it's expensive just to maintain them. I mean, a set of tires is $3,000–4,000 just for as an example. Education and training. Last year we requested 30,000. We spent 31. We're coming back in with the same 30. Maintenance contracts. Last year we requested 51,000. We only spent 1,900 on the maintenance contracts. That additional 51,000 is actually reflected in our vehicle maintenance line item. So that's where a bulk of that maintenance contracts funding went. And this year we're requesting the same 51,000, and bulk of that goes to Absolute, who's the vehicle manufacturer for our diesel trucks. And building maintenance, last year 30,000, we spent 15. This year we're requesting 20,000. I noticed that Director Gonzalez has really been on top of my buildings, and I don't have to spend as much as I once did. Tools. Last year we spent requested 20, we spent 41, and bulk of that was for thermal imaging cameras. They're about $7,000 a piece. Ours were old, we upgraded, and this year we're requesting the same 30,000. Communications, last year we requested 36, we spent 11. We're requesting 25 this year. Information technology, last year we requested 20, we spent almost 49. We struggle with our old buildings, just keeping things up and running. This year we're requesting 23. Medical services and supplies, last year we requested 10,000, we spent 6. That's for things like masks, gloves, etc., and Narcan. This year we're requesting the same 7,500. Personal protective equipment, we requested 45, we spent 32, and we're requesting the same 45. As I said before, a complete set of turnout is very expensive. Uniforms, we requested 10, we spent 13, we're requesting the same 10. And that goes also for our station wear. just pants and the shirt is upwards of $400, and we have to provide 2 per member. Marine One, it's $8,000 requested, 3,600 spent, or 3,900 spent. We had some grant funding for our Marine One last year that we no longer have for fuel and maintenance. So this year we're going to request the same 8,000. General expenses, we requested 20, we spent 2,900, and we dropped that down to 10,000 this year. We should be good. And conventions and seminars, last year we requested 500, we spent none. And I'm requesting the same 500 this year in the event that something comes up. So my total request for 2023 would be 303,000, down from 334. And that's what I got.
That's a 9.1 decrease in fire O&E.
Any questions?
Council members, Councilman Cohen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. One question for you. With respect to the refurbishing of the ladder, the one of the truck, where it was not necessary for that to have to get a new one, that it was going to cost, I believe it was about $250,000 to refurbish it, which would be a cost savings. I assume that while it's being refurbished, it's out of pocket. That, you know, I assume that it's going to the great fire truck factory where it gets refurbished. I was wondering, assuming that's the case, how long is it out of service while that process is taking place?
About 3 months, and we are now in a unique position in Hoboken where I actually have 4 ladder trucks. We have 2 old ones. We just took possession of a brand new one. So in no time will we have less than 3 in-house. So we have the ability now to send this one out and not have any gaps in equipment.
That was my question. Yeah, I was wondering whether there was a gap in service it was going to send out for refurbishment.
No, since we took possession of a new one last year, we have the ability to refurb one and you know, catch our breath.
Sounds good. Thank you, Chief. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Councilwoman Gentino?
Thank you. Chief, can you go back 1 page to page 12? So the total on the bottom, right? Total operations and other expenses, 2022 appropriated says 334,000.
Yeah.
That does not add up at all, just so you know.
I didn't double check my math, so.
I think it's like 180. I just kept looking at the number. I'm like, it seems so much smaller. than that.
There are 2 pages. There's page 11 and page 12.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Yeah, you have me nervous there.
Ah, actually, I did, and go back 1 more page.
Be another 180.
It says appropriated 2022, it says proposed 950. Do we have the expended for 2022?
Yes. You're probably right around.
It was just under, because I was going right up to the last meeting with Chris Baldwin. It's within several $1,000s.
But it's a similar number to 950.
Yes, it's about 940 something.
Awesome. And then that's fine. On page 6 is the table of organization. Kind of a silly question, but we do have a fire chief on administrative leave. Is he not paid out of this? Out of your department, or is he?
Right now, there is 1 fire chief that's being paid. Not going to go into personnel matters. We could do that in a closed session at another council meeting, but right now we have 1 fire chief being paid, that is Chief Peskins.
I think the question's more of is the money allocated at a different line for that individual on administrative leave?
We fully fund the table of organization. We do not fund in a budget. We do not fund person by person. We have fully funded the table of organization of the numbers that we have there.
So anyone who's not on this page is not getting paid through the fire department.
It's the positions. So right now, 1 chief is being paid, 8 battalion chiefs are being paid, 1 fire marshal is being paid, 35 captains are funded for. Today, we came up to that number of 35. And right now, we're funding for 74 firefighters, and we're asking to fund for 78 because of the increase in the safer. But technically, we only have 72 firefighters until we
No,
hire.
I get all that. So you keep saying one chief, and you're not, when you're saying that, you mean the interim chief.
That is correct.
Interesting. So I'm not allowed to know where the other fire chief gets paid out of?
In a closed session, we could explain that.
Okay.
Right now, there's only one fire chief being paid by the city of Hoboken.
Councilwoman, anything else?
No, thank you. Thank you, chiefs.
Thank you.
Chief, I just have a question, well, a statement in the form of a question, I guess it is. You know, we always hear different grumblings, and I'm going to ask a very point blank question here. Are we in any way, shape, or form discussing any regionalization with any other fire departments?
We had talks last year from March through May. The last meeting was May 24th. There was a discussion of two possible things. One is called an auto aid mutual aid system, where Jersey City Fire Department would be able to respond directly to fires in the south end of Hoboken. Hoboken would be able to respond to the Newport area and Jersey City Heights without the need to follow mutual aid current guidelines. Right now, for us to get North Hudson or Jersey City Fire Department in, every single firefighter that's working in the city of Hoboken, which is usually 20 to 23, have to be on scene. So when you have a working fire, you have 20 to 23 initially responding. If we have an auto aid system, we'll be able to increase that number exponentially on first and second alarms. We had also discussed doing a full merger. I discussed that with the fire command staff, discussed that with the two fire union presidents. They know what we know. And to this point, there has not been a meeting again since May 24th of 2022. If that gets explored, I feel to see if anything would be able to work in any type of merger system, we would need to do an auto aid, mutual aid system first for a couple of years to see if that works. Realize there is a metropolis that the governor's office in New Jersey Transit, the city of Hoboken, basically has approved for the building along the train tracks of New Jersey Transit. That has the potential of adding 5,000 to 10,000 to our population in the next 5 to 10 years. 20 firefighters responding to that is not sustainable, and also attacking that from both ends. And that is the root cause of the talks with Jersey City, so that instead of 20 to 23 firefighters responding to a first and second alarm, we have 50 to 60 responding.
Yeah, and I guess from my perspective, more so that full merger is problematic and concerning for me. The autonomy of having our own department and making our own decisions is vital and extremely important to me anyway. So that's just one of the concerns that I would have. With the auto aid system that you're talking about, we would still maintain that full autonomy, correct?
That is 100% correct.
Okay. All right.
Now, just realize right now we have 3 firefighters on an engine. That's a captain and 2 firefighters. We want to definitely get up to 1 and 3, and a potential merger brings 1 and 4. There are about 30 or 40 points that I shared with the fire unions and the fire command staff. Positives and negatives. Overtime would go down to those firefighters, but when you can talk about 50 to 60 firefighters responding to a first and second alarm instead of 20, we're exponentially adding to the safety of Hoboken. And you all have to think about when that metropolis, I call it metropolis, that would be built along Observer Highway, those are Hoboken buildings. We cannot sustain that unless you add $3 to $4 million in salary to the fire budget, which is $3 to $4 million added to the taxpayers of Hoboken. So that's something that future councils are going to have to think about. But just to be clear, there has not been a meeting since May 24th. And before, the first thing that would come to you is an auto aid, mutual aid system that would have to be approved by resolution. So
Okay.
it's definitely baby steps. We are years away from any further talks of a merger.
Okay, and then just to follow up to that is the civilian side of the fire department, as far as the dispatchers, there's no conversations with that as far as outsourcing dispatchers, correct?
No, but they would work together. We would not, no one would lose their jobs in a situation of merging. We want to have one or two communication centers so that it's all interoperability amongst communications.
But again, the autonomy of our department would still be sustained by our
In
city,
in
correct?
an orderly mutual aid system, absolutely.
Okay, all right, that's all I had. Councilwoman Fisher, you have your hand
And
up?
if I could just add one thing,
Yes, please.
with our hopes with the ever-changing thing about the municipal complexes and public safety facilities, when we get a public safety facility, because we definitely need it based on the conditions of Hoboken Police Headquarters, One Police Plaza, and the fire headquarters of Second and Jefferson Street. The mayor and administration's goal and our goal is to have a state-of-the-art communication center, which will have police, fire, OEM, EMS, and 911 all in Hoboken. So there will be nobody that's a fire dispatcher currently losing their jobs in any of these discussions.
Great, thank you very much, Director. Councilwoman, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Two questions. One, the easier one first. Are you going to be covering OEM and EMS as well tonight?
Well, so I'll do the easy part first. EMS, while I sit on the board that we have given Hoboken EMS to be the full autonomy as being the lone EMS provider for BLS service in the city of Hoboken. Me on that board is the only thing as far as a connection is there is no added cost of that. They've been billing since August. They've become self-sustainable. The city no longer has to pay the $250,000 in insurance as they did in prior years. So that's a $250,000 savings to the overall budget this year. They're ordering their own ambulances based on what they're receiving in billing. As far as OEM, we're talking about tens of thousands of dollars, basically one salary and 8 stipends. So we did not see, there's never been a OEM budget presentation because we're talking about $100,000. We're talking about a 1/10 of a percentage point of the budget.
So I thought OEM actually had some full-time officers. Are they police officers that get a stipend, or are
Yes,
they?
so OEM has a OEM coordinator that is a police sergeant. His salary is paid out of the Hoboken police budget, and we pay a stipend to him under OEM. We have one full-time OEM coordinator, a deputy OEM coordinator. That's a retired police officer. His salary is paid under the OEM. And then we have 5 or 6 deputies that get stipends that actually work in other departments like HPU, HFD, HPD, and they get just the stipends. So the only full salary is the deputy coordinator.
And do they have, and maybe it's just at some point, I think it would be helpful to have that maybe be a subset. If this is the public safety budget presentation, I still think it'd be helpful, I think, for the public to understand how our OEM is actually set up and where it's funded out of. And do they have any OE type costs, like any supplies cost or anything like that?
The O&E is approximately $40,000 for OEM.
And did you include that in the police budget?
No, it's in the total public safety budget that you received in the budget introduction.
It's not broken down by sub budget is what he's saying.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it would be really helpful to have a little more transparency on kind of OEM, how it puts, because I think even just understanding that, so we could, have a discussion on, do we think it's funded enough? Do we have enough resources? I mean, we just went through a disaster, and I know we're going to talk about it Wednesday, but having a little more transparency, I think, around OEM would be helpful for the city council, and I would have thought we would have had it in this budget process. But next time. And then the bigger question is, I think you said that both police and fire are fully funding the table of organization. So I'm not going to bring up the fire person again, but the people, we've talked about how both the table of organizations currently are not fully staffed, the police in particular. How are they funded this year? Are they funded 100% day one, like, or so you're over, or are you making an assumption at a certain point you are gonna suddenly be fully staffed and then fully funded at that point? What are the assumptions for both police and fire?
So for police, it's 129, which we actually have is covered for the first 6 months of the year.
Mhm.
Starting July 1st, it's fully funded for the 146 because that's our hope. Right now, the background investigation unit is doing
Mhm.
background checks on those Hoboken residents that took the test last year. And our goal is to hopefully get 17. It doesn't look like that. And if we come short of it, which is looking pretty certain we're going to, that's why we're doing this recruitment and multiple different ways that we're going to try to fill this table in the second half of 2023. For the fire, we are fully staffed
Yeah.
because as Chris Baldwin said, we don't want to cut by weeks. Our goal is that this list comes out in the next 48 hours, and within the next month or two, we're hiring 11 firefighters to fully staff.
Right, but so two things. One is the 17 firefighters that you're looking to fill as of July 1st for the rest of the year.
Police officers.
Police officers, my apologies.
Yeah.
Police officers, how much is that for 6 months for 17 police officers' salaries? Forget everything, forget like uniforms, et cetera.
We're talking a $43,000 salary with approximately $20,000 average benefits cost. They would not pay pension until they complete the academy. So you're talking 60,000 times 17. So we're talking
And
half of that.
half of that,
50% of that.
so 30,000.
So you're talking about $520,000 approximately.
Yeah, got it. And then for the fire, what is the difference between, if you hire them right away, you're still 4 months into the year, so you're funding them for the first 4 months of the year, or you're funding them as of May 1st, June 1st?
No, so we had firefighters again, we don't budget for people, we budget for positions. We had these positions until the retirements happened a couple weeks ago, and we're hoping to fill it in the next few weeks. So there's about a 1 month layover of 11 people, which we need to keep that money in the budget because right now we're filling those spots with overtime payments.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Good
Anything
question.
else, Councilwoman?
Nope, that's it.
Any members of the public? Manny, go ahead.
Yes, once again, good afternoon, good evening. Mr. Chair, I would like to ask a couple questions here. Director, again, as Council Member Fisher just mentioned, it would be helpful for members of the public, even though it seems like it's folded in nicely into some part of the budget, that we do hear or see it somewhere in a line where it is the OEM and other places, because it, as she said, transparency is king. I always say that anyway. And I'm not saying that you're not transparent, but I'm just saying it would be helpful to see it because, like she said, it would be helpful. Maybe we need more people or more personnel than that, or maybe, again, it could be funded better because again, emergencies, pop up obviously, and we need as many people as we just saw in the past month. So that would be helpful. That might be just what I'm saying is a statement, or maybe you can refer to that as a question before I go to the next.
No, it's definitely, it's a point thing. Again, we're talking about 1/10 of a percentage point of the budget. That's why there had never been an OEM budget presentation before. I had not been asked to do that, but I could definitely give the council what I have from Chris Baldwin. I could send in an email this week so that they have it. I'll send it to Jerry Law, and Jerry could send it. Again, you'll see we're talking about $100,000 plus. That's about it.
That's perfect. Thank you, Director.
Director, just to add to that, I'm sorry, in the administration's presentation, the budget numbers themselves I presented those last week. So the OEM numbers were in there, both OE and salary, but we did not break down exact staffing totals, which we can send out afterwards.
Great.
I appreciate whoever answered just now, but I have, Mr. Chair, I haven't finished my question.
Yeah, by all means, keep going, man.
Thank you, sir, because I didn't know if I was done. Just another brief, this is, I'm not cross-examining anyone, and I appreciate again, all the hard work that's being done and everything the firefighters, the police, the OEM, everybody does. Everybody is very important, and the security and the safety of our residents and community is priceless. So we're just going over a budget. We're just asking questions. We just want to know where it's going. Again, full faith and trust, but trust and verify. But I want to know, just curiosity, and I'm grateful that you lowered, and this one came in a little lower, which is great. But I have a question on both departments. When you allocate and when you make an expenditure, or when you save the money, where does that other money stays? Or like, let's say you allocated 20,000 for a broom, and you only spend 15,000 for that broom. There's 5,000 somewhere. Where is that 5,000? Where is it? Is it once again returned, or is it taken from the new budget, or minus?
In each division, by state law, at the end, you cannot go over either your salary line for the department, which would be either police or fire, or your O&E line. So there's what they call control total numbers, which we gave tonight. That's the total amount of O&E, total amount of salary. So given year to year in any municipality, it's very hard to, especially in public safety, come down to the precise dollar amount for these sub areas. But by state law, you have to come in close to your, and not going over your control numbers of salary and O&E. When you come in under, two things happen. If you're going very much under come December 1st, the city council is allowed to approve budget item transfers, budget line transfers. If a department, say there's a catastrophe and one department's getting hit more than another, instead of 0 snowstorms like we had this year, there were 20, and environmental services would need more money for salt and overtime. A different division is allowed, if the council approves by December 1st, a line item transfer. If money is underspent, that goes into surplus. And that's how you see part of the surplus given at the end of a budget year in any municipality.
Yes, thank you. That goes goes a long way. I appreciate the answer. I kind of felt that was what it was, because when I am at the council meetings, I am always asking where is the switching going from one allocation to the other. So now members of the public, and I would assume everyone has gotten a good understanding as to how it works. Thank you, Mr. Director, and the chiefs once again, and everyone, as I said before, thank you for the presentation, and have a good
Thank you, Manny. I'm sure we'll see you Friday morning.
for sure. I'm trying to invite as many people as I can, but they're
Awesome.
they're difficult.
Thank you.
Thanks, Manny. I don't see anyone else in the public, so let's go right to the next presentation.
That's it from public safety. Thank you very much. We're gonna
Thank
log
you,
off.
everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you. Make sure we're off.
Versus Director Pellegrini.
Director, it's all yours.
Leo, are you there?
Yes.
You're good to go. Jerry will move the slides for you.
Yeah, again, I can't start the video. Is there anything wrong there?
I think most people don't have their video on it. I don't think if you don't want to have it on, you don't have to.
Okay, no problem. Then I'll get going. Good evening, council members.
Jerry, can you allow him to use his camera, please? Thank you.
Thanks, Director.
Good evening, council members. My name is Leo Pellegrini. Obviously, most of you know me, the Director of Health and Human Services for the City of Hoboken. The first slide is the 4 divisions under Health and Human Services, which is the Director's Office, Division of Health, Division of Senior Services, and Cultural Affairs. Jerry, next slide. This next slide is our org chart, with basically details of the number of employees currently under Health and Human Services. Under Board of Health, we have a health officer, 1 assistant health officer, 2 registered environmental health specialists. We have the registrar, agency aide, and a clerk typist. In total, we have 7 employees in the health department. In senior services, we have a division head, 2 keyboard clerk, 2, 1 keyboard clerk, 1 principal clerk. We have 1 laborer, omnibus operator, takes care of the medical transportation, as well as the 2 omnibus part-timers who also take care of the medical transportation for senior services. We have 1 senior aide and 1 community service person in that division. In cultural affairs, we have 1 employee who administers all the events in cultural affairs, and obviously through donations and sponsorships, we have seasonal or kind of like part-time employees that work for her. In total, senior services, we have 4 full-time and 4 part-time. If you look at the next slide, this is the total for 2023. We have 17 full-time employees and 4 part-time employees. Next slide, Jerry. Next slide shows the breakdown of the percentage of the department. So health department is comprises 47.4% of the budget in health and human services. Senior services at 29.2%. My office is 14.7%, and cultural affairs is at 8.6%. This next slide pretty much crunches the numbers in the department. If you look, the total number is 1,485,007. That's introduced. What was adopted in 2022 was 1,599,754. The total budget in its entirety is a minus 7.17% decrease. And if you look at the director's office, there's a change of 25% from the previous year. Health department is minus 1.56% from the previous year. In total, we have 704,516 being introduced. In senior citizens, we have 432,990 being introduced. That's also a budget decrease of 1.62% in that division. And cultural affairs is at 128,701. That's pretty much the salary for the administrative. The decrease is because last year we included 25,000 in OE for a project, an art project, and we don't have any projects that are being funded through this line this year, and that's why it represents a 13.53% decrease. So these are the numbers. This is what I have. I'll open it up for questions.
Any council members? Councilwoman Fisher?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I just I struggle with the finding the raised hand one. Director, is there an opportunity to, we've talked about this in the past, where I raise it once a year and then I'll take 99% of the blame for not following up on it, but trying to figure out a way to do some senior programs uptown, for seniors uptown, and just even if it's, you know, one yoga class, even if we maybe do it during the summer outside, if we can't find indoor space, like an outdoor chair yoga, or, you know, just something, to just start expanding a little bit more north, or maybe even using like Fox Hill or something, but, you know, more broadly, like advertising, inviting some of the seniors from uptown.
Yeah, and when you say seniors, what age group are you targeting?
You know what? I mean, listen, I'm 55. I have my AARP card. I'm good to go. I need some bingo uptown. No, but I'd say I probably mostly hear from my neighbors who are like 65 and older, you know, give or take. You know, these are people that are retired, you know, just still.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
what we do, we have 1500 Park. You have that you have that gazebo up in that area as well.
Yeah, yeah.
That I believe is underutilized. Perhaps we could do some events outdoors, especially yoga, what have you, when it's not too hot. Maybe then we could probably start it during, you know, the spring months, and then yes, work with Fox Hills or perhaps the Elks Club to see if they could, you know, partner with the city and have some events in those areas. I think would work. So
I think that's a great idea. I'm going to throw
maybe we could, you know, just bring this up in our next subcommittee meeting and come up with ideas on what we're looking to do, because I do agree with you that you know, the senior population is growing in Hoboken, and we do need to, you know, not only just work on bingo, but other seniors want to do a lot of things. But that's what I've been hearing a lot of, you know, even with the pickleball, that's been working well. But we could find other things that we can do. This year, we're also going to be sending our seniors on back to the stadiums. Let's bring them out to the ballparks. We're going to do one game at with the Mets, City Field. I probably won't be attending that one, but I will be attending the one at Stadium. So we're going to be providing that information to the public soon.
Awesome. Great. Well, I definitely would love to join.
Yep.
Awesome. Thank you.
Is that all you had, Councilwoman?
Yeah, it is. Thanks.
No other council members? Any members of the public?
Nope.
Seeing none, Manny, there you go. You're in.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Once again, good evening. I'm just going to razz a little bit here. The director. Director, I never thought I was going to be asking the question, how have you come under budget? And as you mentioned before, you're going to create extra senior or include extra senior activities, as well as I hope in the cultural affairs department. How is it that we are able to save or make this lower when the seniors are asking for so much? What happened? Where is the disconnect, if there is any, as far as you would see it?
Yeah, there's no disconnect. But what tends to happen with seniors and also with culture affairs, I'm able to get a lot of community members that want to sponsor these events, so they don't necessarily have to go into a budget, and that's why the budget is low. It looks low, but that doesn't mean that we're not providing a lot of activities for our seniors. And also, there's funding through revenue from adult programming that's used for those purposes. For example, paying for a yoga instructor or events at the multi-service center. That's how it's paid for, to answer your question.
Thank you, Director. That is important for members of the public to know that in no shape, way, or form are any of the services, especially for our seniors and the young members of our residency, gets affected. But it would be good to know that the services, when they're being sponsored, obviously through any corporation or any fund from anywhere, that members of the public know this in a quicker way, so that way they could tell seniors, those that know seniors, say, you can participate in this or that. I don't know if I'm making myself clear, but I hope you understand that I'm not criticizing. I'm appreciative of the
No,
savings, but
I
yeah.
don't believe you're criticizing. Yeah, you're just asking questions that affect.
Thank you, sir. And just two little things, just for like the chairman always says, for housekeeping. Can you clarify these two terminologies here that you have on this chart, this S and W 2023, what do those letters mean, as well as O and E, what those letters means, so that people can have it clear?
Yeah, S and W means salary and wages. So that's the salaries you pay staff. And O&E is operating expenses.
Okay, those operation expensive for the health department, they went down as well?
Excuse me?
For the health department, the operation costs go higher or lower, sir? I don't know, I can't see it too well.
It's about the same, but we had some grant funds, so we didn't have to increase that line. So a lot of the funding for O&E is, for Liberty Humane, for Hudson Regional. So it's pretty much contractual obligations that we have statutorily that we need to provide those services to the community.
When you say Liberty Humane, that is for animal care?
That is animal control. That is correct.
Yeah, okay.
So
Thank you.
that takes up most of it, because that contract is about $71,000.
And do we have a lot of need for that, Director? Can you just let the members of the public know that we do or we don't?
No, the numbers are usually low. We have obviously it's a great community when we're talking about dogs. They take care of the dogs, but however, statutorily you have to have animal control. So that is why we outsource it. If we had to do it in house, that number would be probably close to $1 million.
Okay, thank you, Director. Very good presentation. I appreciate it. I'm sure members of the public appreciate it, and I hope that the council agrees with you. And good evening, as well as Mr. Chair. Thank you again for allowing me to speak, and the council members. I hope that they see this budget favorably. Thank you. Have a good evening, Director.
Have a good evening.
Thank you, Manny. We have Elizabeth Orteco.
Hi, Director. Just a quick question. The senior citizen section of your budget, there was a lot of discussion recently about putting together a seniors database to locate where seniors were outside of the big buildings where some of them reside. Would that fall under your department, or is that something that it hasn't been discussed, or is that in the budget?
No, I think we're discussing it. That's more of inventory. I don't think budget. It's gonna be a huge impact to the budget. I've done that in the past for other crises, and I've gotten most of the information from most of the senior buildings. But what we're trying to do now is not only concern ourselves with just the senior buildings, but seniors in general and where they're at. So you have to come up with a plan to come up with a solution on how do we get all of that data.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
There are no other members of the public. I see Councilwoman Giatino, you had a follow-up question?
Yeah, thank you.
By all means.
I did send in a list of all the 6th Ward seniors. It's really easy to do. We could just go on the voter, I said it at the council meeting, you just literally go into the voter database and you can, I would say 95% of seniors are registered to vote, so it's probably the best way for us to get an accurate list of the seniors in Hoboken. It took me like 2 seconds.
You're assuming the voter database is accurate.
Correct. No,
Yeah,
and you know what? It is
But
pretty
at the end of
accurate
the
these
day,
days.
at least it's a good starting point.
Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
Oh, it's the best starting point. It gets you, probably gets you 80% of the way there and in 2 minutes, right?
Right.
So it's a great starting point.
Leo, I'll forward it to you as well. You want me to just forward you the whole city?
Yes,
Okay, I'll do that.
thank you.
We don't have any other speakers tonight. Director, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I appreciate everybody coming out. We will have our next budget workshop next Monday, and that'll wrap it up for our workshops, and then we'll get into any amendments and then final passage of our budget. Director Freeman, anything you want to add before we wrap it up?
Nope, appreciate everyone's time. We'll see you next Monday.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Good night.
Jane,
Hey, Jerry, before you leave. You still there? Hey, you know, when people allow people to talk, once or, the public, once we brought someone else into the room to talk, we need to turn off the talking for the previous person.
Turn off the talking in the previous.
Yeah.
I haven't been putting the people in.
I know. I think Mike has.
But yeah, okay.
We just have to.
All right. Yeah, because I'm taking care of the slides. That's why. So
I know.
I made him
I'll mention it to
co-host.
Mike. Next Monday, I have a live stream, so I'm gonna either have Tom sit in, but you guys seem so self-sufficient. I don't even know if it's if you even need him. So I don't know if you need him or not, but all my guys and me are working this big event at Prudential. So I asked Tom to sit in if you need a moderator. I don't right now. I don't think you do.
Okay.
So
Rod, I can do it for you if you need it.
is that all right, Jen? Thank you. Yeah.
No problem.
Just Mike's been letting them in. We just need to turn off their mics.
Yeah.
And disable talking afterwards.
No
Awesome.
worries.
Thank you, Jen.
Okay.
Oh, wait,
right.
what's the day of the week?
It's next Monday, March 27th.
Okay. All good.
All right. Thank you so much.
No problem. Take care.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Recording.